Welcome back, everyone. Look, let's be totally honest here for a second. How many of you have caught yourselves opening the fridge at, say, 11 p.m., staring blankly at the shelves and grabbing a can of soda or maybe that leftover slice of pizza? To you, it's just a harmless midnight snack, right? But to your ancient ancestors, man, absolutely none of that is food. Today, in this explainer, we're jumping back about 3 million years to uncover the fascinating and honestly kind of terrifying truth about what early humans actually ate, and of course, why your body is still biologically hardwired to crave that late-night pizza.
But hey, to really understand where these modern cravings come from, we need to completely smash a very popular myth. You can forget that whole image of the majestic, noble hunter standing proudly over a fresh kill on the prehistoric plains. The real truth is way less glamorous. For over 1 million years, your deepest ancestors weren't hunters at all. Actually, they were scavengers. They were literally eating the scraps and leftovers that the real apex predators left behind.
All right, let's dive into this. And before we get to the truly wild discoveries scientists have found in caves around the world, don't forget to hit subscribe to support this explainer. Let's explore together how these brutal, primitive origins didn't just keep us alive, but made us, well, simply human.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, Bone Marrow and Brains, the ultimate scavenger's feast.
I really want to emphasize this massive number right here, 3 million. Because for over 1 million years, the main course for our ancestors was not some perfectly seared steak. No, it was insects and incredibly fat-rich bone marrow. We're talking about chewing on termites, beetles, and thick white grubs the size of your thumb. And bugs weren't just a backup plan, they were dinner every single night. Why? Because 3 million years ago, humans were at the absolute bottom of the food chain out on the African savanna. We were vulnerable, slow, and totally dependent on whatever the bigger, scarier animals left behind.
Think of it like a scavenging hierarchy. When a lion took down an antelope, the lions obviously ate first, taking the best parts, the muscle, the liver, the heart. Once the lions moved on, it was the hyena's turn. They'd come in and crush the ribs, the skin, and the smaller bones. By the time human ancestors finally worked up the courage to approach the stripped carcass, the only things left were, well, the absolute worst leftovers. Specifically, those thick leg bones that were just too tough for even a hyena's jaw to crack.
But we had one unique advantage, something no other scavenger possessed: hands that could grip stones. Using basic stone flakes, called Oldowan tools, our ancestors could actually smash open those thick thigh bones. And inside? Boom. Raw, gray, slippery marrow. They'd scoop that dripping fat right out with their bare fingers. They also cracked open skulls, which hold about 1 pound of solid fat. And guys, that is literally the most calorie-dense food you can get from an animal. For a hominid surviving on scraps, an intact skull was the ultimate prize. And that is exactly why, to this day, your body still treats fat like an absolute treasure. Which brings us to Section 2, the fire patch. How cooking totally transformed us.
Now, what's really interesting here is the massive biological contrast. About 1 million years ago, deep inside Wonderwork Cave in South Africa, we made a discovery that changed the game forever: the first controlled human fire. And once we had fire, we had cooking. Eating raw meat or raw plants forces a primate spot to do hours and hours of intense chemical work. But cooked food? It acts like pre-digestion. It's already partially broken down by the heat before you even swallow it, saving the body an enormous amount of digestive energy.
And this perfectly illustrates a brilliant evolutionary domino effect. Because our bodies were spending significantly less energy digesting food, our human guts literally shrank over time. And all that freed up energy, it went straight to one place: the brain. Just to put that into perspective, your brain makes up only about 2% of your body weight, but it burns an astonishing 20% of all your calories. You simply cannot run a biological machine like that by chewing on raw leaves. Cooking gave us our brains, and our brains gave us everything else.
Moving right along to Section 3, the sugar survival aura, the ultimate prehistoric jackpot.
Let's fast forward to about 300,000 years ago. Thanks to our bigger brains and much better tools, the prehistoric menu exploded. By this point, your ancestors looked a lot like you, and they were hunting everything from mammoths to bison while gathering roots and wild berries. But there was one supreme prize that chased above everything else: wild honey. To give you an idea, modern hunter-gatherer tribes, like the Hadza in Tanzania, still get about 15% of their calories from honey. They climb highly dangerous trees and take hundreds of stings, literally risking their lives for it. Why? Because absolutely nothing else in nature packs that many calories into a single bite. Honey provides this incredible survival aura, instant energy to use right now, and extra fuel to store as fat to keep you alive when the food dries up.
Picture this. A dripping honeycomb was easily the richest meal an ancient human would ever lay eyes on. And since finding it was incredibly rare, that extreme scarcity acted like a powerful magnet. It locked in a permanent, overpowering biological craving for sugar. Your brain was literally hardwired to relentlessly hunt for sugar and to be drawn to it whenever it was available in a very hostile wild.
Section 4. Controlled rot, and the rituals we'd probably rather forget.
We need to shift the tone just a bit here, because scientists also stumbled upon some much darker, undeniable facts in caves across Europe. Look, every craving you have today was shaped by survival, but there is one craving in our history that we still have a hard time admitting. Researchers found human bones in Gough's Cave in England dating back roughly 14,700 years, and those bones told a very grim story. The skulls had been meticulously cleaned with stone tools, the faces were removed, and the top parts of the skulls were shaped rim by rim into cups. And the long arm and leg bones? They had been smashed open to extract the marrow, exactly the same way those early ancestors cracked open antelope bones.
And here's the truly shocking reality. This wasn't an act of desperation or starvation. That same cave was full of horse and deer remains. There was plenty of food. Practically speaking, a human body only yields about 125,000 calories. A single bison, 600,000. A mammoth, 3 million. Humans were not efficient food, they were a deliberate choice. Forearm bones were even carved with zigzag patterns after the meat was removed. This was a deliberate ritual, found not just in England, but across Germany, France, Spain, and Croatia.
And beyond ritualistic cannibalism, things get even weirder. Your ancestors didn't just eat fresh meat, they ate rotting meat. They would actually bury carcasses for months until they were crawling with maggots and bacteria. Gross, right? But why do that? Because bacterial decay essentially pre-digested the meat, making it much easier to chew. Plus, the bacteria naturally produced essential B vitamins. So, the crazy takeaway here is that this 100,000-year-old controlled rot is actually the direct evolutionary origin of our modern love for fermented foods. Your cheese, your yogurt, sourdough bread, and even your beer, they all come directly from this ancient survival tactic.
Which brings us to Section 5, the modern logic glitch, our ancient biology in today's world.
So, let's pull this whole narrative back to the present day, right to you and your modern grocery store. Think about the incredible contrast between that ancient scarcity we just talked about and the massive abundance we have today. If you took a modern human and dropped them 50,000 years in the past, they'd probably die in days, completely unable to find enough calories. But what if you did the opposite? If you put a 50,000-year-old human in your modern kitchen, man, they would think they'd stepped into a god's pantry. Effortless calories everywhere, requiring absolutely no chasing or hunting.
And that creates what we call a major logic glitch in our system. Fundamentally, your body still doesn't know that refrigerators or supermarkets even exist. It operates on one simple rule: eat what's rich, eat what's rare, and eat it right now, because tomorrow there might be nothing. Your biology honestly believes that every soda, piece of bread, or sweet sauce, which let's face it is just sugar in a costume, must be consumed immediately to survive a severe famine. But in reality, that famine is never coming.
So that 11 p.m. fridge raid we talked about at the start, it's not a lack of discipline. It's simply a 3-million-year-old survival program frantically scanning for calories in a world that no longer exists. For millions of years, every human who ever lived was hungry, cold, and exhausted. Thanks to the modern food industry turning our ancient signals into a massive business, we are the very first humans who aren't, and our bodies are confused.
Which leaves us with a final and maybe slightly unsettling thought to take away from this explainer. The next time you find yourself staring down a donut, desperately wanting to eat the whole thing, pause and ask yourself, are you the one actually in control of your cravings right now, or is it just 3 million years of brutal evolution pulling your strings? Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into our biology, and I'll catch you in the next one.